Imagine getting up every day full of energy as if you were in your 20s again. What would that be like? What would it be worth to you? What is your health worth to you? Think about it. Your health isn't everything, but without it, everything else is nothing. And yet, too many of us are taking it for granted until something goes wrong. And no one wakes up hoping to be diagnosed with a disease or chronic illness. And yet, we've never been taught how to be proactive in our health through our school or public health. As a registered health coach and integrative health practitioner, I believe it's time this information is made available to everyone. Combining new knowledge around your health and the ability to do my functional medicine lab tests in the comfort of your own home will allow you to optimize your health for today and all your tomorrows. Don't wait for your wake-up call. Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Wait for Your Wake Up Call podcast. I am Melissa Deely, your host, and very excited to have with me here today another wonderful guest, Lawrence Ellyard. Welcome to the show, Lawrence.
Hey, it's great to be here, and yeah, I really look forward to sharing some ideas and exploring what comes out of the conversation. Whenever I do these podcasts, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, so it's very exciting.
Whatever you share today is exactly what the listener needs to hear. I know that much. And I would love to introduce you to the audience. Lawrence is the founder, innovator, and executive producer of the New Woo, a documentary that is coming out in late 2027. As the film's founder, producer, and casting director, he brings more than 3 decades of experience as a wellness practitioner, educator, and global industry leader. He is the founder and director of the International Institute of Complementary Therapists, a global organization representing more than 36,000 wellness professionals and over 1,400 modalities across 37 countries. Over his career, Lawrence has become a renowned master connector and innovator, someone who can see the future of wellness before most can articulate it and bring together the people and ideas capable of moving that vision into the world. Which is why I'm so excited to have you here today, because of course my listeners know of my belief in the world of holistic healing and the fact the body can heal itself, and that there are definitely more than one way for people to be able to heal. So as we dive in, Lawrence, I would love to ask if you can just take a step back in time and share your journey that led you to this passion and focus on complementary medicines and healing.
Yeah, well, it's a funny little story. I was pursuing a career in art direction, like graphic design, and working in an advertising agency for only for a very brief time. Mostly because I didn't feel very aligned to it. And it was like, well, my parents were like, you should get a real job and not be into all this hippie, trippy stuff and spirituality and all that. But that was always what really called me. And I think the turning point for me is I was 20, I think it was at the time. And I was going to a spiritual talk. So dotted in between doing my day job, I was really interested in pursuing anything to do in spirituality, wellness, consciousness, all that stuff, And I was very connected in with Buddhism and martial arts and all these different practices and Qigong. And I was going to a spiritualist talk and I was running late, really late, so I was driving, hurtling down in my car really fast. And there was this place where the talk was on, and there was only one parking spot, and it was on the opposite side of the road. And being lazy and, just trying to get there as quickly as possible, I parked in the opposite direction, facing the wrong way. And so then I raced in and then I go, oh, I've left my wallet in the car. So I run back out. In the few minutes that had happened between getting there and realizing I'd lost my, left my wallet in the car, I had this very juicy parking ticket on my car. And it was a lot because it was like, I think I'd violated 3 different things with parking at the time. So it was like, you can't be facing the wrong way on the opposite side where you should be. All the cars are pointing one way, mine's pointing this way. Anyway, so then I get this ticket and I'm like, that's like my whole pay for the week, this parking ticket. So I was really cranky. got into the talk and I was just sitting there in a huff, you know. Anyway, there was a Q&A opportunity where you could kind of come up and speak with the teacher. And he said, "Oh, you seem super agitated. Like, what's going on?" And I said, "Oh, I can't believe it. I was like running late and I parked my car on the wrong side of the road and I got this big ticket and I was just facing the wrong direction." And he said, "Oh, that's like your life right now." And that really hit me. And I was like, yeah, that is what's happening, you know. So for me, that was the turning point, getting this big ticket, this fine. Next
Literally
day,
the turning point of the car and your
literally, yeah,
life
yeah,
and the metaphor in all of that. Everything happens for a
exactly.
reason, right?
Absolutely. So next day went in, I quit my job, and yeah, shortly after that, I was looking to move to somewhere new to live, and I met a Buddhist monk in the street, as you do. And I said, "Oh, do you know anyone?" You know, we're chatting, and he said, "Oh, do you know anywhere where I can, you know, I'm looking to move in." So, you know, because where I was living in Fremantle in Western Australia at the time, you know, we kind of called it the Fremantle Shuffle because you're renting places and often you couldn't stay there for long and you had to shuffle across to the next house. Anyway, so I said, "Yeah, is there somewhere you know?" And he goes, "Oh, there's a room at our place. You know, you can come and check that out." And I get there and it's a Buddhist monastery, right? So I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm checking in here." So then I lived at this Buddhist Dharma house for 3 years and yeah, essentially went into a semi-monastic lifestyle. And yeah,
Absorbing all of their practices and yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So lots of meditation and mindfulness practices and Dharma and service and all of this. So it was really an incredibly rich time. And yeah, so that was really the turning point. And that really, I went from dabbling to full time into this
hmm.
space. Yeah, that was really the moment where it all changed for me.
That's a fabulous story. I absolutely love it. And yes, the universe was just guiding you exactly where you needed to go, especially the
Mm.
next day meeting a monk in the street and him having a place to live and then you living there for the next 3 years. So at that point, yes, you're absorbing and learning everything about Buddhism. Where did you move forward in terms of then starting to embrace different healing modalities? I know before we even got on, you were talking about you'd been in Japan and you'd learned Reiki and you'd practiced Aikido. I know you've got a history of martial arts. Just walk us through that experience and how what I love is how one seed or one step leads to the next and leads to the next.
Yeah, well, I first got in touch with Reiki was a couple of years before I moved into the Buddhist place, and
Hmm.
so I was about I think 18 years old, and I was attending a personal development seminar, weekend seminar, which was called Alpha Mind Training or Mind Dynamics. So it's kind of like, you know, power of the mind and
Hmm.
power of positive thinking, all these different, you know, so one of those, you know, 3-day events and crazy long hours, but getting lots of knowledge and, you know, about mindset and success principles, all these sorts of things. So it was really powerful, but it was very content rich, like very heavy. And I was in the break having a bit of a headache because it was just so much hours and intensive work. I think it was on like day 2 or 3 or something. Anyway, and there was a guy having his hands on somebody laying down. And I was like, and I just sat there and watched for a while. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm doing Reiki." And I'm like, and he said, "Oh, do you want to try?" And I was like, "Okay." Anyway, the person gets up. They looked all, you know, a bit spacey, but anyway, they seemed fine. I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll give that a try." I'd never heard of it before. Anyway, so I said, "Oh, well, I've got a headache." And so I just laid down. He put his hands either side, just gently resting either side of my head, you know, just for about 5 minutes. And like within seconds, I had felt all this warmth and heat coming from his hands. And I was like, wow, this person must be like some incredible healing master, right? You know, and anyway, after a few minutes, I got up. You know, he said because we had to go back in, and I got up and I was like, my headache's gone. I feel completely like refreshed and energized, and all that pressure's gone, and it was really quick. And I thought, yeah, this person must have been doing it his whole life. And I said, "Oh, how long have you been doing Reiki for?" And he goes, "Oh, I did a workshop last weekend." And like, what do you mean? He said, "No, no, like I literally did a 2-day course." And yeah, and so he passed his details on to uh, his teacher's details to me, and I reached out, and it just happened to be like 2 weeks later there was a course, and I came and did training, which was one of the first Reiki teachers in Australia at the time. And yeah, that was like a duck to water, like I had a very, strong connection to it. I had, immediate results, and I was like, okay, there's something to this, so that opened up a lot of things for me as well. And I went on to then become one of the youngest teachers in Australia at the time, at the, master level or sensei level. So yeah, I just jumped, like a lot of things, I tend to dive in, full steam and
Hmm.
explore the absolute nines. Yeah, I then went on to set up a natural therapies college. I was teaching Reiki all over the world, wrote several books on it as well. So again, I'm kind of full on when it comes to things like this. I just go all in,
I
get a bit
love
obsessed.
that.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like I always want to like fully understand and go deep into something and truly explore it. So I'm not a dabbler, that's for sure. And yeah, so that's something I did, for about 15 years, running and teaching and doing all these things, dotted amongst traveling with my Buddhist master and, training martial arts all over the world and all sorts of things. So
I was
it's
just
been a
going to say
very
along
good life. Yeah.
along the idea of you going all in, you've also gone all in into martial arts and Buddhism as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just share a little bit more about that martial arts journey too.
Yeah, well, I started martial arts as a child. So I was, I think, about 6 years old. I started Taekwondo,
Hmm.
uh, and I loved it. It was really a great focus and discipline for me, and I was fairly undisciplined. So that really, and my
Help.
teacher was a Malaysian guy, and he was very stern and very serious. And I think it's the medicine I needed, yeah, because I
Right.
was growing up, in the late 70s, that's that generation, we say Generation X, it's like we had no parenting, yeah, we raised ourselves. And it was really the case, I'm the youngest of 5 kids and my parents are busy working. And yeah, I just remember you go out and play and then, you come back when it gets dark and then we
Exactly.
have dinner, right? This is that generation. So, there wasn't any helicopter parenting going on.
Definitely not.
Which means we got up to lots of mischief, right? But anyway, I'm
And
still
live
here.
to tell.
Exactly, like literally, like wow, I survived. So anyway, that was that whole fascination with martial arts I had very early as a child, and I remember watching there was a TV series, a Japanese TV series that I guess had been adapted for English, but it was called Monkey Magic, and it was all just martial arts and this journey, and it was actually weaving a lot of Buddhist principles as well. That TV show. So I just remember being fascinated with that, and it was interesting. Like one of the main characters, he has a staff as his weapon, and then as it turns out, going into Aikido, we use a staff, we use a wooden sword, a bokken, for training, and ended up doing that, for real. But I remember watching that as a child, just going like, I want to do that. So yeah, I did Taekwondo for right through my, as a child, right through to my teenage years, and a black belt in that martial art, and then switched to Aikido in my late teens, and then been doing that to present day. So I don't know if you add it all up, about 40 years of training, 2 different martial arts styles, did some karate as well, and a few other things. So yeah, I guess the principles that I've experienced through martial arts is this idea of beginner's mind, and that the more you do, the more you realize you don't know.
A
And it's a
hundred percent.
great teaching for life too, right? Because we
Hmm.
can go into life with this idea of I'm better than, or and we'd say that's exclusive pride. We walk around with our nose in the airs, like, oh, I know something, and life usually taps us down a few levels when we've got pride activated, right? And really, it's about then transforming that through this idea of being humble, and but also being really community focused. So then we'd say that's inclusive pride, and that's the idea of like if we can celebrate our commonalities, then we can look at it, how great we all are together. That's where we can celebrate life and celebrate others' wins, and so this is really like operating it from from me to we.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think as a young man, I was a bit arrogant and a bit like full of myself at times because I thought I knew something. And,
And
I
it's a
always said,
little bit of the societal teaching as we're, getting ourselves through school.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And I had lots of great learning opportunities from my Buddhist master who would, knock my pride out of my ego down a few pegs, which was really wonderful, actually. So I'm really grateful for my teachers. And I was very fortunate to spend time with some very awake people in my development. So that's certainly helped shape me over the years.
Well, I love that, and I couldn't agree more in terms of the beginner's mind. We teach that in all of our trainings as well. And we may be the trainer, and yet every single training we are learning as we teach, learning from our students, learning from each other. And as you said, the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know, especially when it comes to the power of our mind, to what is beyond our 3D world. And it is when you stop and think, it is absolutely mind-boggling about how much more is out there. And when we are operating from that 10% of our conscious mind, we are so limiting ourselves.
Yeah, it's a great concept to this idea that we often teach what we most need to learn, and we often find ourselves in situations. And there's a other saying, you teach to learn and go, oh wow, that impacts me. And then you end up sharing it with someone else. And when in the sharing of, oh, I heard this cool thing, they get it, which is a gift. You get a new level of understanding through sharing it and explaining it. So yeah, I think that's always great. If you can teach the thing, then you attain a deeper level of mastery in relation to what's being downloaded or what you've learned, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, through these journeys that you've been on over the course of time, you've come across and met and had accolades from some wonderful, wonderful people, including the 14th Dalai Lama and Jack Canfield and Dr. Masaru Emoto and Sir Richard Branson. I'd love you to share some stories around how you were able to meet them and maybe some wisdom that you learned from each of them.
Yeah, for sure. So, with my Buddhist background in Tibetan Buddhism, and it was actually a different school to the Dalai Lama school, but everyone knows the Dalai Lama, right? He's like the guy.
Yes.
But I was in a different lineage to the Dalai Lama's lineage. But anyway, I was on a Buddhist retreat in Spain at the time, and there was a peace pagoda, like a stupa enlightenment symbol. We've seen those, in pictures and so forth. And yeah, so it's a symbol of enlightenment is the structure of a stupa, and one circumnavigates the stupa, making prayers and making aspirations, and so or making wishes. And I had worked on this manuscript for the Dhammapada, which are specific teachings of the historical Buddha, and translated them into English from Pali and Sanskrit and so forth. And I was like, who should I get to endorse this book? And I was making prayers, and I spoke to my master. He said, well, you should totally, send this to the Dalai Lama. And I was like, what? Little old me, and how outrageous and how audacious. Anyway, so I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So I prepared a copy of the manuscript. I sent it in a letter to the secretary of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India. And anyway, a few months back, I thought, oh, I'll just see what happens. And I had actually forgotten about it. And then one day there was this official courier comes to my door, and I had to sign for this envelope. And anyway, open it up, and there's this beautiful parchment with official, gold gilded seal on it, and his signature, and he'd written the foreword for the book. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, wow. So this is like a huge, blessing and a great thing.
Yes. You're
My
giving me
publisher.
full body goosebumps right now,
Yeah,
Lauren.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's like that. And my publisher was thrilled, right? They were like, okay,
Yes.
gonna be great. So yeah, the book's called Everyday Buddha, and is really just to bring different teachings of the historical Buddha in layman's terms, so people can understand, appreciate it, modernize it. Because of course, how people spoke 2,550 something years ago is a bit different to today, right? But
Yes.
the principles, the essence of the teachings are there. So it's kind of anyway, that happened, and I was like, oh wow, that kind of gave me a deep trust and recognition in prayer
Hmm.
or aspiration or wish, whatever you want to call, the
Calling
idea of
in, calling in what you
calling
want
in.
and having it
Yeah, yeah.
answered. Yeah.
And I think particularly being at a really potent energetic power spot, like
Yes.
super was a powerful, you could say it's like an amazing broadcasting antenna out to the
Yes.
universe, right? And a lot of power, energetic power there. Yeah, so that's how that happened. And then when Masaru Emoto's passed away quite a few years ago now, but he was doing his Australian tour, so I met him on the leg in Australia and was really fascinated with the idea that our thoughts or our words or music could transform the structure of water. And I was then later invited to do his second training in Hado, which means energetic or vibration training in Hawaii. And but anyway, when he was on the Australian tour, I was essentially looking, after him and getting him checked into his hotel and hiding his cigarettes from his wife and stuff like this. Like literally, it was really funny because he told his wife he was giving up smoking, but he actually wasn't. And he said, "Oh, come to me. You are my friend. Hide my cigarettes. And then he'd go and breathe them and go, oh, can you smell the smoke?" And I'm like, "No, it's okay. Have a mint or whatever." Anyway, so this is what was happening, and he was a great guy, and I just shared with him the concept of like I'd love to write a book for the English market, because all of his books are translated from Japanese to English. I said, well, let's do some work on this, to reach a broader English speaking audience. And so yeah, so I wrote The Spirit of Water, and we took a group of our students from Australia to Japan, and we went to some of the sacred sites there and temples, and as one does.
Yes.
But we
Beautiful.
also went to Tokyo, and we did an experiment on Tokyo tap water.
Hmm.
We had like a before and after. Like as an experiment, and we had I had seven. There were seven of us in total on this tour that we did in Japan, and we were standing around the vial of tap water from Tokyo, which is not very nice to drink. It just tastes metallic, and it's just yeah. Anyway, not great as it is with most countries. When water comes out of the tap, yes, it's safe to drink. It won't kill you in the long run or in the
In
short
the
run.
long run, it might. In the
In the
short run,
long,
it
in the long
won't.
one it might, but in the short time it won't, right? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we just extended our positive, loving intention to the water as a circle around.
Hmm.
And it was interesting, like one of the ice crystals that formed. So again, before it's like distorted and fragmented, the structure is like all over the place. And then the photos of the same water after that came out from the laboratory were these beautiful. Usually they're like a five-sided structure,
Right.
which you see with like beehives. It's that tessellation. It's this pattern that works really well. It's the most efficient structure, you could say, and they use that in architecture and lots of or packaging. You
Hmm.
see packaging. Anyway, there was this beautiful seven-sided crystal, which represented the seven of us, and the inside was like a circle, and there was like an opening at the top where this light was pouring down. So this is how it
Wow.
actually visually looked. It's in the book, we published it. And so what the water was showing us what we did to the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really fascinating. And yeah, so there's an ability, with our positive intention or consciousness, our thoughts, our prayers, or whatever you want to say, that can affect water and its structure. So if we can do that, what else can we do?
Well,
And
exactly. And what else is it affecting, right?
yeah,
And our unconscious mind is always listening. And
mm,
we love to say that one of the only things a human being can't do is a human being can't not manifest. In other
mm,
words, we're always manifesting. It's a matter of what we're manifesting based on our thoughts. Are we manifesting what we want because our thoughts are focused on what we want, or are we manifesting what we don't want because our focus is negative on what we don't want? And that again is that power of thought that we have over everything in our existence, really.
Yeah, and then again, this is like one of the fundamental teachings of the Buddha, it's this idea that everything is created through our minds and all of
Yes.
our thoughts, emotions, feelings will ultimately manifest in what we think we create. And, we see this, in more the New Age movement, the idea, of you know, manifestation and creation, through our thoughts and mindset. And so, these principles are actually ancient, but they're not,
Hmm.
they're not. In a way, it's not a new woo; it's old woo woo, right?
Right.
But it's about how we reinterpret it and bring it to the world. So, yeah, we're all incredible creators and manifestors.
Yes.
It's like from the Bible, the kingdom of God is within you, and that's true. Yeah, we
Yeah.
are incredible. We are creators. Yeah. We're not thinking we're better than or something, but yeah, the idea is that we actually can make manifest with our consistent belief or intention. But that's good news and bad news. The bad news is if we're focusing on the past or lamenting, or thinking into the future, oh, not going to work out, or that's going to be bad. And yeah, it will probably will be. And if
Exactly.
and likewise, if we're like, oh, this is possible, and yes, this is what I really want to manifest and truly believe and feel it consistently over time, you will create that reality. Like it's
Right.
inevitable.
It's that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
We are literally creating our reality every single day. So I
Mm.
definitely want to talk about the new woo. However, let's go back and continue talking about creators. Let's talk about Jack Canfield.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Jack, so he was one of I mean, he wrote a wonderful testimonial for one of my books, for the Spirit of Water book, actually. And great guy, and he was obviously quite visible through his works with Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which went absolutely ballistic as a book series. And he was one of the first people I shared the New Woo documentary idea with, and he just
Hmm.
loved it. He said, "Okay, I'm going to share this through all my network." And in terms of building out the cast, a lot of those people are his friends and people he's been on stages with. So that's how that sort of happened with him. But yeah, he's still going. Like he's in his early 80s now, and he's still out there doing his thing because it's like the idea that. Um, the one day when I do this, then I'll retire. And it's like for me, the thought of retirement sounds terrifying because how boring. Like, and I've
I,
done this. Like, I'm someone who's just a creator and a connector, and I'm always interfacing with people, right? So for me to sit on a beach for weeks on end, I would be bored out of my brain. Like literally, I could not stand it. So some people they just think that's great. But I think even people who are, not as driven, the idea of going on a holiday, I think most people would get antsy after a little while. I mean, some people are great. They want to go and sit in the cave and meditate for 30 years, and that's amazing. And what a gift to the world as well.
well, there's a lot of research out there that also shows that, people retire, especially in the Western world. They retire, they look forward to retirement, they count down the days, and then they plan that holiday, and they go and
Mm.
have that fabulous holiday, and then they get home and they go, now what? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's when boredom can set in. If they don't have a plan, boredom can set in. And over the course of time, that boredom can lead to depression. And that depression leads to illness. And that unfortunately leads to an early ending to this life. And too many people are dying far too early into their retirement because they don't have that plan in place. And for me, I love the Japanese concept of Ikigai, that you
Yeah.
simply just live your purpose, live your dharma, and just do that, till the day you can't do it anymore. And it doesn't mean you have to be doing it 7 days a week or 40-hour plus a week. You can scale it back. However, it gives you a reason to get out of bed every day. It gives you a reason to be connecting with other human beings and having that social interaction, which we are social beings and we're not supposed to go through this life alone. And so, when my final financial advisor every year when I do our review and he's like, "So what age are you retiring?" And I'm like, "I'm not. I'm just
I'm
not. Why do I need to
not-
retire when I love what I do?" That saying as well that,
Yeah.
find work that you love and you never work a day in your life. And that's where I'm at. Clearly that's where you're at. And let's keep going.
Yeah, like why would you stop, right? So I guess it's this
Exactly.
idea of like living in the spirit of service and contribution, then of course
Exactly.
the more we, receive and the more we benefit through the experience. So yeah, and another great Japanese concept is intoku. Intoku, the idea of doing good in secret. And
Yes.
that's this idea that we do the thing because we know it matters and because it's from the spirit of contribution.
Right.
And it's what happens when no one is looking, actually.
Yes.
And often people will just do the thing and they leave the space better than they found it. They're not seeking recognition. Because
Right.
often we do the thing because actually there's an agenda underneath it of like, oh, well, then I'll get the love and the recognition, or I'll be,
Right.
get the accolades, whatever it might be. And it's like that in itself is empty, right? Because it shouldn't matter
Right.
whether we get the
It's not
recognition.
about doing the thing in order to get something. It's simply about doing the thing because it's good for another human being or humanity in general.
Exactly. And so if the more value you can add, or if you give above and beyond what's expected, obviously that brings joy to the other. And we are living from a place of surplus, not from deficit, right? And of
Yeah.
course, we can do this only when we have got ourselves organized in a way where we're not in survival, right? But it then self-perpetuates. We have this opportunity to expand and reach more people and connect and be living again from this mindset of like, what can I give and how can I be genuinely of service in the world? And there's a great way to amplify joy and possibility and give to others. And again, it's not from the idea of being a martyr, like, oh, I give and poor me. It's actually like, look how great we are together and see what
Yes.
else we can create, so it perpetuates itself, this positive influence in the world. So for me, my wish is really like, how much can I impact to how many people for us, how far into the future, for how long, like what's that legacy look like? And not that I honestly don't care if I get remembered. I probably won't be, that doesn't matter. It's like how many lives can I touch? How many people can I benefit?
Right.
Like the Bodhisattva vow, like until the end of time, I would just keep, coming
Yeah.
to this show with compassion and generosity and kindness and support and
Love
enriching.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. And the other person on your list is Sir Richard Branson.
Yeah. So
Share that connection and,
yeah, I had a chance to meet with him one-on-one in Sydney a few years ago. And I'm actually going out to Necker Island in June this year. So we're speaking with him at I'm speaking on stage at the Iconic Leaders Summit there in the Caribbean. So we're there for a few days with him and other leaders in the world. And yeah, part of that meeting is to seeing how we can elevate the work we're doing with the new Wu documentary and also, who we can partner with in terms of philanthropic endeavors and charities that we can support to help elevate humanity. Because again, it's the idea with the film, it's not just a film, it's a global movement, like we're bringing,
yes,
there'll be a book, podcast, there's a
yes,
song that we're putting together where everyone can share their wisdom to big audiences. So it's about yeah, partnering with the right people that are doing great work in the world. And yeah, Richard Branson is someone, I mean, aside from being like the serial entrepreneur, right? Like he's got that incredible empire. And if we look at, the most wealthiest people in the world, he's not actually not up the top there, because
right,
he gives so much of that, towards charity and giving it to help, So he's a genuine good guy,
right.
which is great to see, So and he's always been a huge inspiration for me because he's got this, kind of flipping the bird to the competitor or whoever it is. It's like this
Right.
rebellious, cheeky, yeah, maverick kind of approach, which I really love. And I go, oh, yeah, that's how I like to show up too. So yeah, it's cool. So I think it's great to have mentors and people that are inspirations because it helps. I mean, I think it gives you permission to be like that yourself
Hmm.
and to live from possibility. And what's really exciting, like particularly with this film as well, that we're attracting a lot of new and upcoming talent and people that are making positive impact in the world. as well. Yeah. So again, it's like who are the people in the younger generations that are the new leaders of this world, the
Right.
new is the people that are making, cut through and break through technologies and new ways of working with AI to accelerate, impact in the world in a positive way. So yeah, all of these things is like what we want to showcase. And yes, there are a lot of big names in the film that people will know and love and appreciate. And uh, the more exciting confirmation for me is about how the younger generations and what they're bringing. That is where, because that's the future, right? That's what my children
Absolutely.
inherit, right? So I
Yeah.
want to create a world where there's more of that, where there's more possibility about how we can take the reins of our life and our life journeys and how we can make positive contribution in the world. Like that's the exciting conversation for me.
Yeah. And just helping that information and those, possibilities become known, right? Because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
don't do it, then, those young people have all of these amazing tools, resources, and yet getting it out into the world can be very difficult for them.
yeah.
And here is a channel for them to be able to get it out into the world sooner and for everyone to benefit, which is the purpose behind it.
Exactly, yeah. So I sort of use this analogy that something like this is not a boat on the water. In the bay, it's the tide. Yeah, it's actually rising all the boats. So if we bring all
Yes.
the incredible thought leaders together, they're all their individual boats, and some are small boats and some are super tankers on the water, right? But whatever the size of the audience of the person that's making the contribution, then like let's create a platform where everyone can be collaborating and sharing that wisdom in a unified manner. All the individual modalities or nuances or approaches to wellness, are present, of course. But it's like, what's the collective impact? That's where I think there's
Hmm.
massive change can occur, and where a lot of people can then see it and they wake up and go like, oh, I didn't realize, right? Because the whole idea too is not to say that, traditional allopathic medicine is wrong and wellness modalities are right. It's not a us and versus them. It's a,
Bringing
it's
it
a
together.
bringing it together. Yeah, the best of both worlds, because if I'm riding on my motorcycle and I come off at 100 kilometers an hour and I need to go to hospital, I'm pretty happy for Western medicine, right? Like,
Exactly.
and give me all the good drugs because
You'll
I'm
need
gonna
it at that point.
I'm gonna need it, right? Yeah, and then but then the
However,
other,
the concept of a pill for every ill,
yeah,
that concept is, definitely outdated and hurting us now because,
yeah,
people have this belief that they go to the doctor and the doctor will fix you. And firstly, you're not broken. And
yeah,
secondly, the body can heal itself when we create the environment for it to be able to do so. And
yeah. And this is the idea of preventative medicine. And if we go
exactly.
back to more feudal Japan, the medicine and health was almost the inverse of what it is today. And the
Hmm.
idea you would have on retainer a physician that would keep you well.
Right. And
And as
ancient
soon as
India and ancient China
yeah,
as well. The physicians
yeah.
didn't get paid if their villagers got sick.
Exactly. So payments stopped when you got sick and you got paid as long as you stayed well. So like what
Exactly.
a complete,
I
and
know.
what is it today? It's the opposite of that, right?
Exactly. The
You're like,
industry is
oh, I've
making
got a
so much
problem.
money off keeping
Yeah.
us sick. So what do they want to
Yeah.
do? Keep us sick.
Yeah, there's economics related to that too, right? So, but yeah, what would it be like to have medicine that was like how it used to be? Like that's quite a revelation, eh? We think
Yeah.
about like what am what am I not just only putting into my body, but like what thoughts am I
Yes.
and emotions am I entertaining? Are these in
Yes.
support of life and joy and celebration, or are they, is it taking me backwards and over time, perpetually in a state of victimhood or perpetually in a state of negativity or, fear or scarcity? Well, what are we going to get? We're going to get more of that, right? So yeah, like our thoughts are such a, like the beautiful gift you could say of meditation is we get to slow down and notice what's going on and who's running the
Exactly.
show. And then we go, okay, well, I can do something about this. And I'd say, this all comes down to the idea that, we are the ones who are the creators of our joy, and we're the ones who are the creators of our misery. And
Absolutely.
when we realize it's us, we go, oh, okay, that means I have to live total responsibility. I have to
Yes.
own everything that is my creation. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, what an incredible opportunity, and often it's quite a light goes on in us when we really start to live that. It's a very, very powerful way to live.
Absolutely. And I love everything that you're sharing. It's completely in alignment with this podcast and what our audience is used to hearing and in a new way. And I love what you're bringing to the world with the documentary, The New Woo. So I'm really excited for when that comes out.
Mm.
And something that I love to ask every single guest that comes on this show, and that is, what does "don't wait for your wake up call" mean to you?
Yeah, I mean it's a great question actually. What would I say to that? I'd say like don't pass on the opportunity to be kind or to make a contribution. Because the beautiful thing about that is that there's no outer conditions that are in the way for that to occur.
Hmm.
It's actually a choice. It's a way to, step into leadership in each moment and say, well, what can I do here to support others? There's a sort of in traditional medicine ways, there's this idea of the caretaker philosophy. And it's the idea that, when we come into a situation or we meet a person, that we leave them or the place better than the way we found
Yes.
it. So the idea of like going that extra mile or giving additional value, whatever it is, and we do it again, through generosity and through kindness, and that's free, which is so cool, right? I don't need to go and do the workshop. I don't need to pay a high ticket offer to learn the wisdom. Like it's already here, and so like that's the real richness that we have if we simply slow down, notice, have the eyes to see it. Then there's so much more we can bring to the world. So yeah, I'd say that's how I'd answer that for sure.
I love that. Thank you. And if the audience listening, if any of them want to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to get hold of you?
Yeah, look, I'd a couple of different places, or three really. I mean, on Instagram, it's Lawrence_Ellyard. People can reach out to me on Instagram. Also, lawrenceellyard.com is my website with my books and what I'm up to. And then the other thing, I guess, with regards to, my day job running the global accreditation body. So I guess
Yes.
anyone who's a wellness practitioner or an educator in the wellness industry, and we cover over 1,400 different wellness occupations globally, then they could go to myiict.com. And the IICT represents the International Institute for Complementary Therapists. Long name, which is why we use the acronym IICT. But it's a great place to get part of a global community that's supporting wellness practitioners, a global accreditation, access to insurance for their practices, and all of that. So we've been doing that for nearly 24 years now, and we're like the global leader in this space for that. So we're always looking to expand that community and help serve other people. And look, the thing is, I've got an amazing team behind me, which helps support all of that. I used to be a one-man show, but when I've come to learn over the years that there's always someone smarter than you at the particular thing that you need. So it's also about finding, who are those geniuses and having them, come and support you to have even bigger impact. So I'm always really grateful for my team and for the people around me that have been attracted to the work we do, and it's also attracted to the kind of the values that we stand for. So I think that's really important too, to have a deep understanding of what you stand for in life and what are those pillars. And I always say, like, if you can't remember what you stand for in 5 or less steps, then you've got probably too many things you're trying to go for. So
Right.
like, there's a reason why there's 5 digits. Yeah.
So
I
you
stand
can
for
count to
this.
five.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you can counter the 4 or 5 things that you stand for in life. That's a really probably a good way to go. Yeah, to say here are the pillars of contribution, and this is what I want to create. And so getting clear on the standards a really powerful way to be as well.
Beautiful. Well, this has been a fabulous conversation. Thank you, Lawrence. I love all that you're doing in the world and just, helping get that message out to the world about complementary medicines, holistic healing, and bringing that community together so that people aren't feeling as isolated when they go out on this path and it's different to what familial expectations are or friends' expectations, and they can find their community of like-minded, like-hearted, like-souled people. So it's beautiful that you have that organization. And as we wrap this episode, is there any or are there any last words of wisdom you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I think if there's probably one thing that we can all benefit from, it would be to have a space of compassion arising where possible. So again, if we're looking through the lens of compassion and bringing that to our every moment as much as we can muster, that's going to definitely support our journey. Yeah, so if I think about myself, I have my problems. If I think about others, I see that there are many, and what can I do to be of service? Then suddenly my problems are not so big, yeah, because I've got something useful to do. So I'd say, yeah, show up with kindness, compassion, and see what impact, it will have in the world. And as a result, what impact that has in your own life. That would be my message.
Beautiful. I love that and wholeheartedly agree with you. When we focus on our problems can be insurmountable to us. And
Mm,
when we instead focus on helping others, then all of a sudden we find fulfillment in that and our problems become much smaller. So beautiful
absolutely.
words of wisdom. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Love this conversation that we've had. And yes, wish you every success with bringing the new woo into the world late next year. And absolutely would love to have you come back on the show and we can talk about it during the launch time then and also get the links out and share that with my community once it's out and look forward to watching it myself. So
Yeah, amazing.
thank you
Yeah.
again for being here. And to my audience, thank you for tuning in each and every week and being open to learning about your health. And if there's someone that you believe needs to hear this episode, please share it with them. Your unconscious mind is powerful. It's the other 90% of your mind. And yet, you're not even taught about it at school. What if you could access the other 90%? It would be like driving the highway in sixth gear instead of first gear. That's what you're doing when you only know the tools of the conscious mind, the 10%. You're going through life in first gear. Are you ready to ramp up and go through life in sixth gear? Learn the powerful tools of your unconscious mind, healing trauma, clearing anxiety in minutes rather than weeks, months, and years? Join our next Meet Your Unconscious Mind workshop so that you can start to learn the power that you already hold within and the tools to access it. Look for the link to register in the show notes.